Hello, my name is William Mwembe and this is Business Time. It's a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. And in the program today, we speak to the IMF on its position on resumption of the Extended Credits Facility program with the Malawi government. Also in the program, we analyze impact of the UK's decision to cut aid to Malawi. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could.
Zinenenje. Nso mnalimo muno?
Ndimaza kulya ruzina ndizina mwali.
Mandemo shopata. Sugar, apo tukona nkaka. Umatu masambati nje mulibe uno.
Alamwa kurusa mwali wa masamba.
Nkaka soti ngati? Amwali. Komasoto ino mupasikira nyonse yango dzadza ndi made in Malawi yoka. Tamakani moyo tsogola bogula zinthu zakunja.
Maganizo amene uri ndobwezera chitukuko cha dziko lino mbuyo. Kugula zinthu zopangidwa kwathu konkuno kumathandiza kukweza ntchito za makampani a dziko muno. Zomwezo zimapereka mwayi wa ntchito kwa anthu ambiri. Ogwira ntchito akachuluka dziko lathu limatolera misonkho yochuluka. Chumanso chimakwera. Mukagula katundu wakunja mumangolemeretsa mayiko akunjawo ife sitipindula kanthu.
Kani
ndikuzani
iyo ndenda mvetsatu. Ndikire pompa. Nene ndikagula zinthu zathu za chimalawi sindichedwa.
Tikule zathu tikule dziko lathu.
Ndikire sindichedwa.
Dziko lathu bai Malawi kondendi kunyadira za chimalawi tikamagula za kunja.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, and in our main story in the program today, on Monday the IMF met President Lazarus Chakwera, Vice President Saulos Chilima, Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor, as well as officials from the Treasury to discuss, among other things, modalities of getting to a fresh extended credit facility program following the suspension of the program that is last year in 2020. Now, there have been some bottlenecks that have been limiting the country from accessing a new program, according to IMF officials, who say rising debt levels remains one of the key challenges that Malawi needs to rectify as soon as possible. Our journalist in Lilongwe, Taonga Sabola, caught up with African Affairs Director for the IMF, Bebe Selassie, to find out what is at stake as we speak.
I came for a couple of reasons. One, first and foremost, of course, to meet government officials here, the new administration. Well, it's about a year in, so I guess we can still call it a new administration. Thoughts on how to advance Malawi's development agenda and, learn what the plans are. So that was an important reason for coming. Second one, of course, is to follow up on the government's request for a financing arrangement with the IMF. There are a couple of issues that need to be resolved before we can proceed, and we've had very intense but very useful discussions with the minister and his colleagues, as well as, of course, briefing President Chakwera on all of this. So myself and more importantly, the mission chief Mika Saito will go back, having gathered quite a bit of information, an understanding on how the government intends to address these challenges, and we'll be briefing our managing director on the outcome, and we will continue discussions in the coming weeks. So I think, the minister, has already explained to you all what some of these issues are. Perhaps to summarize, I think first and foremost, there is quite a bit of legacy challenges that the government inherited on taking over the administration last year. This includes a very elevated level of public debt, borrowings that, some of the borrowings of which were not formally registered in the books, the extent at least of how much these borrowings are. So the government is looking at all of that and trying to understand what the full picture is. So this was one of the issues that we discussed. Second, and more importantly, also going forward, how the government intends to tackle very important development goals that it has. I don't need to tell you how much investment is needed in public health, in public education, and of course also all of the infrastructure agenda, how that is going to be met how that can be covered going forward, were all part of the issues that we discussed. As I said, these couple of issues that I mentioned need to be addressed, and as soon as they are addressed, we would be in a position to move forward with the program with the IMF. Yes, I mean, the government has requested, and of course it's our role and responsibility to make sure that we deliver on that, and we're working on that.
Now, the United Kingdom last week announced to have slashed amount of aid channeled into Malawi by almost half. This, according to local NGOs, would have huge repercussions in sectors such as health, which relies heavily on donor support. Our journalist Yamigan Kajaje has the whole story in this report.
This follows a decision by the UK earlier this year to cut foreign aid by reducing the annual aid budget to 0.5% of its national income. In an interview, Family Planning Association of Malawi Executive Director Donald Makwakwa says the loss will be felt especially in the health sector.
The UK government supports government in different sectors, including the health sector. And for us as an organization, we're very much interested in the health sector because we are working in this sector. And the UK aid support to Malawi in the health sector has contributed quite a lot. In terms of infrastructure development, availability of medicines, including the health workforce, and specifically when we talk about sexual and reproductive health services, the UK government has been very much pivotal in the support towards procurement of commodities. So what I would say is UK government has been very much supportive to the government of Malawi directly, but also through the non-government organizations in the work that they do.
People's Federation for National Peace and Development Executive Director Edward Chaka weighs in his views.
To Malawi, this is going to negatively impact us Malawians, more especially children, youths, and women. As you know that much of their funding by the UK government target young people to access family planning products. So definitely the cut will definitely affect these young people who always think large to access these types of products, especially also family planning methods product that our women in the rural areas large to access. Definitely this will also affect them. The other also effect I think will be the climate change as one of their priority areas of funding by the UK government.
The National Planning Commission communication specialist, Tom Kanje, says Malawi could be positioned to move towards self-reliance.
That donor support us is just, we just enjoy some goodwill, but the donors have no responsibilities of taking care of our needs. So yes, we do appreciate the aid Malawi receives, and indeed we would like to get more aid to help us, especially in the first years of implementing the vision, so that we are able to stand on our feet and become self-reliant. That's the ultimate goal. So when you hear the donors are cutting aid, it's a bad thing for Malawi, but it can also be a blessing in disguise in that I think Malawi has got a lot of potential in terms of production. Malawi has got a lot of potential in terms of revenue generation and the likes. So as the donors start scaling down, it should be a wake-up call to ourselves as a country that we cannot continue relying on donors because they have got their own pressing issues. Look at what is happening in Europe, issues of COVID and the likes. The donors have got their own, pressing issues in their country that may, limit what they can support us in the country. So I think it's time Malawi either took the issue of self-reliance seriously, as outlined in the vision, so that we start generating our own resources. We start producing our own community so that we become self-reliant. We need donors, yes, but with time we need to win ourselves over donors. We should not be a donor-dependent country. We have to be a country that is economically independent. So that's an issue us as policymakers have to look at seriously and find ways of covering the gaps that could be created once the donors leave. Or indeed scaled down.
Ministry of Finance spokesperson Williams Banda said Malawi would adjust its programming to take into account this aid reduction. He mentioned stopping those programs supported by the UK aid altogether or finding other partners to support those programs. Top priorities for the UK aid to the country encompass issues such as supporting government accountability, increasing the resilience of poor Malawians, and making the economy more diverse and productive by building human capital.
Lately, the Reserve Bank of Malawi has been lamenting over rising cases of non-remittance of pension funds by firms in the country. As at mid this year, over 25.3 billion Malawi kwacha had not been remitted to pension fund managers by firms. Now, this has a repercussion, and one of its repercussions is that this money could have been invested by fund managers to ensure that it multiplies for the sake of beneficiaries of the funds. But this is not the case. Now, what does the country need to do to ensure that companies are taking a leading role in facilitating investment of the pension fund into various sectors of the economy? I caught up with Asford Chilunga, who is a market analyst, to find out how the market is positioned and what needs to be done for Malawi to make the most of the pension funds.
To be honest, in our country, we are a growing economy, an economy that is still young, and therefore investment avenues are equally young and being developed. But the investment avenues that we have so far and the amount of funds that we have in pension funds as at present, I feel is being balanced quite well, because in my opinion, we have skillful fund managers who are allocating these funds in a very skillful way. The process itself of allocating these funds inspires a lot of confidence in people like me and you, and should inspire confidence in the wider economy. I think risk evaluation is being done very well, and returns are also being realized. So I'm not really worried about that.
Which areas do these fund managers invest much of these resources?
Currently, the majority of funds are allocated in listed equities, so the Malawi Stock Exchange. I think this accounted for over 40%. And the second largest portion is allocated toward government borrowings, so both long-term and short-term. And the smallest portion is shared among properties and private debt, private equity as well. Yeah.
Talking of which, we've noted the government have lately been on the market with the long-term development bond, which they say, according to the Treasury, they would be issuing such bonds quarterly. The most recent one being for some projects that the government intends to earmark this financial year. Talking of the governments coming on the market, others feel it could be a challenge in as far as private sector access to finance is concerned. It would cloud out private sector borrowers. Do you agree with the assertion?
The impact is twofold. The first impact is the fact that pension funds now can find another home, because 40% in equities may also need to be balanced out, should have a way out when things go wrong. And the other facet is how well government is going to use those funds, because at the end of the day, a spending government is also what drives the economy. So you want to make sure that government has enough to spend. So the main issue would be how well these funds will be spent into the economy. Yeah.
We've seen economies across the globe being built with pension funds. Could this be the case here in Malawi?
Yes.
Where pension funds would contribute substantially in
building an economy.
In building the economy?
Yes, of course. And not only building the economy, but pension funds have both a quantitative and qualitative economic impact. Quantitatively, pension funds increase capital supply to financial markets, and qualitatively they promote corporate governance. They promote transaction efficiency. I mean, if you own shares as an individual and you want to sell those shares, you want to have a buyer on the other side. And the fact that we have these pension funds avails this transaction efficiency. So yes, I absolutely believe that pension funds have an economic advantage.
Fund managers appear to be more radical in identifying windows through which they should invest these resources. To an extent, we've noted even that some funds seem to be lying idle somewhere. If you are to elaborate, what are the risks associated with such investments?
It has to be a balanced equation all the time, and the balancing is the balancing of risk and return. It is not a good idea to have a pension fund that is completely illiquid. All funds are locked into investment avenues. It is not safe. You want to have a pension fund that is somehow liquid and well invested as well.
Remember, this is Business Time. It's a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, madam. Stop billing. I'm taking back all these goods to the shelves.
What's wrong, sir?
Never mind. I have just changed my mind.
Excuse me. I just noticed you returned all the goods you meant to buy. What went wrong?
Some of these products are not originally made here in Malawi.
But these goods have a logo to authenticate them, and we manufacture them ourselves.
Then it means you're not registered with Buy Malawi Strategy. This logo here with a tick is not correct.
How?
All products and services registered with Buy Malawi Strategy have an original logo approved by government through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism that really authenticates your product as a Malawian product. Now, once you register, your product and service will be recognized as Malawian. Look, we must buy Malawi to build Malawi. You can find out more from Buy Malawi Secretariat or call them on 01 770 244 0993 707 729 or 0999 528 510. You can also simply email info@buymalawi.mw.
Buy Malawi, tukonde kunyadira za chimalawi. Tikamagula.
Welcome back to Business Time, and moving on with the program. Malawi, an agrarian economy, has been heavily relying on tobacco as its main cash crop, which has, of course, for the past years been attracting a substantial amount of forex. But at the onset of time, both output and revenue from the leaf has been going down, a situation that has forced authorities to contemplate on modalities that would find alternative crops. Cannabis is one of such. But the question is, would cannabis be the next big thing, considering how structured the tobacco industry has been? Recently, the Cannabis Authority announced to have had received about 72 applications for cultivation and trade in the commodity. Our journalist, Justin Mkweo, has been following trends since the announcement or the passing of the law regarding the cannabis to find out how Malawi is prepared for the trade.
CRA last week said over 72 companies and cooperatives have now acquired licenses to cultivate and trade in industrial and medicinal hemp. The number has increased from 35 in April this year. The authority says it was impressed with the market's response for cultivation and the commodity, which is seen as a possible complement of Malawi's main export crop, tobacco. CRA board chairperson Boniface Kazamira told stakeholders in Blantyre that some of the companies and cooperatives were from the rural areas. He said most of licenses are for industrial cannabis compared to medicinal. He said the public seems to now understand cannabis market dynamics. He added that this industry is complex, involving and cash intensive. Therefore, the concern on fees was genuine because people did not have information, but now they know.
We have got two main categories of fees. Fees for industrial hemp, which is pegged at 1,600,000 Malawi kwacha, plus 380 a processing fee. Industrial hemp, if you are doing industrial, it means you are required to pay close to 2 million Malawi kwacha. But if you are doing medicinal cannabis, the fees it's about 8 million Malawi kwacha, plus a processing fee of about 800,000 or 850,000 kwacha. So we differentiated the two varieties because for medicinal, it's a variety that is the demand is that you have to grow it under a controlled environment, while the industrial one, it's the variety that can be grown in an open space. So that's the difference. So there are no special fees for outsiders or locals. The fees are the same. In total, we have issued around 72 licenses. Not 72 licenses. We have issued certificates to 72 companies and cooperatives. But individual licenses, there are more than that because a company can apply for more than one license. We've got, in principle, we've got 4 licenses. License to cultivate and sell, that's one license. Then there's license to process. There's license to distribute. There's license to export. So these are the main licenses. But apart from these 4, we've got other licenses, like licenses to do with pharmaceuticals, trials and research, and seed multiplication. These are also other licenses. So if a company has applied for 4 licenses, it means is going to be given 4 licenses. So times 72, that's a lot of licenses. But to the companies and cooperatives, total is about 72.
Currently, the license fees for industrial cannabis is close to 2 million kwacha, while the license fees for medicinal cannabis hovers around 8 million kwacha. One of the potential farmers of the leaf, Daliso Gandari, held the regulator for reaching out to the public with relevant information.
The meeting is very important to me as we've heard so much about this cultivation of cannabis, and there are so many issues to do with the issues of licensing, issues of how to cultivate the cannabis. But now that the CRA was here, at least they have opened our eyes and we've known much, and we are happy that they've even recommended that they are going to give us to take us to the off-takers. So we are happy because at first our worry was on who is going to buy the cannabis if we were going to cultivate it.
Cannabis was certified in Malawi to be cultivated under regulation for industrial and medicinal use. As at April 2021, the media reported that an analysis by Invegro Limited found that a kilogram of industrial hemp could fetch $1,444 and that there was potential for direct annual benefit for Malawians in excess of $135 million on 16.5 hectares or $8 million per 5 hectares.
Now, in other news, the Export Development Fund has outlined major challenges facing local SMEs in as far as growth is concerned. One of these challenges is obvious: lack of access to finance. But what are the solutions that Export Development Fund and other funders are deploying to ensure that these SMEs access funds substantially? Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi reports.
ADF Chief Operating Officer Chifuniro Kaimapanjira says funding wars continue limiting prospects for growth of SMEs in the country. He emphasized the need for continued operation, investment and domestic regulation in the region to achieve the agenda of implementing the value chains and smooth integration of the same.
There are so many challenges with regard to the limits that are imposed on us, mainly emanating from the levels of capitalization that we have. We do not necessarily receive subvention from government, and we do not restructure our balance sheet using such funds or recoveries in terms of losses. And therefore, we have to package all these in a manner that we recoup so that we do not lose our capital. So in that case, we are somewhat limited in terms of how much we can actually do. And we feel that is a challenge because we are starting from scratch in some areas in terms of developing the value chains themselves, making sure that they are indeed players who can undertake the activities that will actually inform the development of the value chains. And we see that something meaningful is happening. So funding really is a critical issue that as DFIs, we feel if we had all the resources, I am hopeful we could do a lot. So we feel that continued cooperation in the areas of trade, investment, and domestic regulation in the region really assume critical significance if we must achieve the agenda of implementing and developing the value chains to integrate ourselves in the region.
Regional Manager for Botswana-based Local Enterprise Authority, Dinah Solani, says studies they conducted uncovered gaps in value chain actors and service providers and the policy environment.
The gaps are at 3 levels. You have what you call value chain actors, you have value chain service providers, and you also have a institutional policy or the institutional or the policy environment under which those sectors are operating under. We have realized that there are bottlenecks that is preventing the attractiveness or the uptake of the opportunities by entrepreneurs, investors, and financiers. Most of the actors currently in all of these value chains, except for leather, where there were not really players per se. We were just exporting all our hides and skins raw without any value addition having been done. But the rest of the other value chains, you find that there is a little bit of activity around the primary production, but that activity is not coordinated. There's information asymmetry. The market is not linked. The institutional support is weak. So there is full dependent of the local producers from inputs that are imported. There are no local inputs. You also have where you don't have any technical support as well. For some industries such as leather, you also have a skills issue there.
One of the participants, Lamkosi Nkonta Gama, said implementation of standards and quality principles builds resilience.
Well, that story also brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time. It's a magazine program in which we bring you major business as well as economics news stories that are making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.
Build big, build quality. If you're thinking of